Hi, this is Josh Kulp, again with the video for Daf Nun of Masechet Ketubot, page 50 of Masechet Ketubot. I want to talk today about the second half of the Daf, which really precedes an important Mishnah that's going to come up later in this parak. And I really want to just explain all of the players in these conflicts and some of the halachot, so that you have a better sense of the background. The main big dispute between the Amoraim in this page on the second half of Nun Amud Bet is whether or not after a father dies and he's obligated, now that he's dead, he's obligated to provide sustenance for his daughter, or more literally, his daughters have a right to sue his estate or to receive their maintenance, food, clothing, and shelter from their father's estate. Do the inheritors, which is generally speaking his sons, in other words, it might be the daughter's brothers, do the inheritors, the sons, have an obligation to feed the daughters out of metaltalin, movable property, i.e. stuff, sheep, cows, goats, small animals, things like that, perhaps small belongings, wheat, that's the example that comes up over here, possessions that he owns, and not just the land. The Gemara presents the economy as being very land-based. What that means is they really think of it as the only thing that has real value, and the value of things, wheat, animals, are really fleeting, and therefore may not be something that a person has a lien on, a right to collect a debt from. So the two main issues, let's just get all of the issues straight as far as what happens when a household or a man dies. When a man dies and he has male children, the male children, the sons, inherit, and the daughters have a right to two essential things. They have a right, first of all, to receive sustenance, and we're going to talk about that really on Nun Bet and Nun Gimel. We're going to talk more about that, especially on Nun Gimel, meaning food, clothing, and shelter, either until they are married or until they reach the age in which they should be married. There is a dispute about that. The other major hold they have is on what the Gemara calls parnasa, which we would translate as dowry. Those two things are really, in a sense, the girl's version of inheritance. So that it's true that in traditional halacha, only the boys inherit from their father. It is gender biased. The girls do receive some sort of share. It would be not correct, it'd be incorrect to say that the girls are just out of luck. The girls receive guaranteed sustenance and some guarantees as to the dowry. There are a lot of debates as to how much dowry. Sustenance is easy. How much food, clothing, shelter do you really need? Dowry is a little bit more nebulous because the girl's going to argue, Dad, if he was alive, he would have given me a major dowry. And as we're going to see, the dowry was an institution, a financial institution, a social institution of tremendous significance at this time period. And they also receive the sustenance. So those are the two things that really, in a sense, protect their rights. So times they may end up with a larger chunk of the estate than the brothers. It would depend on how much money is in the state, how many daughters are left, etc., how many sons are left. So that's really the issue. You have a whole bunch of Amoraim arguing about whether or not metaltalin, movable property, are meant to be used to sustain the girls, or whether the sons have an inheritance over that they don't have to share with the girls. The final decision, which doesn't come till Nun Aleph, Amud Aleph, is that they only receive the sustenance from karka, from land. However, in another twist of halacha, Jews by the medieval period, but already by the Gaonic period, let's say 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th century Babylonia, already were living in a merchant economy, meaning most of their wealth was tied up in things, possessions, and not in land. And therefore, there are a bunch of takanot, enactments of the Gaonim, saying everything in the Talmud that applied only to land, nowadays, since most Jews do not own land, also applies to movable property. Today, that would include cash, and as it did back then. So you can see like how this sugya, this passage, is something of great relevance because people are arguing about inheritance, but became somewhat of lesser relevance in the Gaonic and in the medieval period, although there remained some doubts and some questions about whether that shift of the economy or of the law from only land to land and all other property remained true for all matters or only for regular loans and debts.